Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you've been following me on my channel, you probably know by this time that I recently bought the Amor Eterno eyeshadow palettes from Melt Cosmetics. I recently posted a first impressions video of the Muerte palette, and today I'm going to be talking about the Vida palette. So I will be swatching this palette on my arm, applying it on my eyes, and share my final thoughts. So let's get right into it. So before I start talking about the Vida palette, I just wanted to thank everybody who's checked out my Muerte palette review and for being super nice in the comment section regarding my pronunciation of the eyeshadow palette. So thank you for that. And I'm going to try my best to pronounce the eyeshadow names of this palette as well. So the Vida palette is a very colorful palette. Vida means life or lifetime. So you can clearly see that in the color scheme. The packaging is super bright. The Muerte palette was, it means death, so it was very dark, and this one is super bright. Now I'm going to be swatching the colorful eyeshadows first and then probably do the boring brown ones in the very end. So the first shade I want to pick up is Sol, and I think Sol means sun, and this is this very orange shade. This is how it looks. It's a very cute tangerine sort of orange shade. Next I want to pick up this peachy orange shade, and it's called Pan Dulce. I think it means sweet bread, and this is this slightly darker orange shade. This is how it looks. Next I'm going to pick up this super yellow shade, and it's called Amor Eterno, and it is this very yellow, bright yellow shade. And Amor Eterno means eternal love, and this is how it looks. It's pretty pigmented. I am curious to see how it will apply on the eye. Next I want to pick up this green shade, and it's called Papel Picado. I think it means something related to party celebration, something like confetti or something. I'm not too sure. And this is how it looks, and this is Papel Picado. So it's this fluorescent sort of neonish green shade, and this is just one swipe. I wonder how it will look with more than one swipe. Let's see. There you go. Next I want to try this red shade, and it's called Mexicana, and it's this super red shade. It feels very powdery though, again, and this is this super red shade, and I think I have too many reds in too many different palettes. Next I want to try this shade Alegria, and it's this very shiny metallic orange shade, and this is how it looks. Feels very nice, but I've been disappointed with the metallic shades in the Muerte palette, so I'm curious to see how it will apply, although it does swatch really easily. Next I'm going to take this green shade, and it's called Sarape, and it feels very gritty as opposed to this one. This felt very soft. This green shade, which is beautiful by the way, it feels really gritty. It's hard to explain, but you feel like you are touching sandpaper, like a mild sandpaper. That's how it feels. So this is how it looks. It looks very beautiful though. Yeah. Next I will take this light brown shade, and it's called Atole. I think Atole means cornmeal, and this is this very light shade. Seems like it's almost my skin shade, but a little bit gray, which I think would be great as a transition shade. Next I'll take this slightly darker shade, and it's called Agua Ardiente. I think it means alcohol. Again, I'm not too sure. And this is this darker shade, and it's got a bit of green and gray to it, I think. And I think this would be a great, crease shade to create depth. And lastly, the simplest one, and it's called Chocolate. So this is this super dark brown shade. And this is how it looks. So these are all the swatches. Now I feel like I want to, compare some of these shades with some of the other shades in the palette. So especially this red one, I want to see how this compares with the I think the Corazon shade in the Muerte palette. So let me get that. So the Muerte palette here has this red shade, the Corazon shade, and I'll just take that. And it looks pretty same to me. Let me see, I'll apply this here. And this is maybe a tad darker than this one, I guess. So taking this red shade, Mexicana shade from the Vida palette. And if you see, this one's a bit more vibrant, kind of neon. So that's how they compare. So I am actually curious to see how this yellow compares with some of the yellows that I own in other palettes. So I'll just take the Amor Eterno from the Melt Cosmetics and apply it here. Then I'm going to take the Huda Beauty Obsessions palette, and this is the only, probably the most colorful palette I own before the Melt Cosmetics. So this is how this yellow looks, and this is how it compares. And if you're curious to see how it compares to the food videos yellow shade, let's see. I'm super curious to see how it compares. So this is the very, very neon Conspiracy palette yellow shade, and this is how this looks. And it's, again, this one's also, the payoff is not that great. I wasn't very impressed with this shade. I'll just take one more swipe at it. So yeah, taking the Boss palette, the Sunset palette, Natasha Denona. I'll pick up this yellow shade, and it's called Sol as well, by the way. So this is how it looks, and let's see how it compares. So this is obviously super dull. I feel like the pigment on this yellow is really, really good. And this is Amor Eterno. Sol is the other shade, my bad. But yeah, that's how they compare. So while I was comparing, I actually realized that the Sunset palette and the Vida palette oranges kind of match a little bit. So I thought I'll do a full comparison. So I'll pick up the yellow one more time, and the yellow from the Natasha Denona. So those are the comparisons. This one's the Natasha Denona, this one's the Vida palette. Next, I'll take this Pan Dulce shade, and I'll take this Horizon shade from the Natasha Denona palette. So they are kind of similar. Let's see. So this one's a little more deeper, I think, but they're kind of similar. Next, I will compare this Mexicana shade, the red one, with the Pangent shade from the Natasha Denona. So this one's pretty dull, and the Melt Cosmetics is pretty bright. So that's how these compare. Next, I'll compare this chocolate shade, and this is this dark shade, with the igneous shade in the Natasha Denona palette, and they look exactly the same. I feel like the Natasha Denona one is definitely creamier, and I feel much better, but the shades are pretty similar. This one looks more gray, and this one's a little more deeper, but pretty close, right? So yeah. So the first two looks I want to create is with these two shades, the yellow and the green one. So I'll just take my blending brush and just go into Atole and apply this as a transition shade. And this looks kind of dark. Actually, when I swatched it, it didn't show up too dark, but I think it shows up well on my skin. And I'll just do the same on the other eye. So this blends pretty easily, but it's a very, very light shade. I mean, even though it shows up on my skin, it's pretty light. Next, I'm going to go with a flat shader brush into this Amor Eterno shade, and let's see how it applies. So I'll just tap it all over my eye, and it shows up very, very light. It doesn't show as like a very, very neonish yellow. So that's how it looks. I don't see any fallout, so that's good. And It's not patchy, I think. Doesn't look patchy. Okay, so that's the yellow shade. On the other eye, I'm going to go with this green shade, and it's called Papel Picado. Let's see how it looks. I don't have any neon fluorescent green, so oh, this is nice. It's a very pretty shade. Again, no fallout. And it doesn't apply like patchy. It's pretty pigmented, so I like that about this shade. And it's not like very chalky, so that's good. And just to complete this look, I'm going to go into this Agua Ardiente shade, this one, and with a tighter brush, and just apply it in the crease. Very well. I do see some fallout here, but not a lot. And going into the chocolate shade and just again deepening this even more. I'll just go with my blending brush and take that Atole light brown shade one more time and just blend all of this out. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other and come back. All right, so this is the final look. I just put some eyelashes and a little bit of eyeliner because this was giving me those a very 60s feel. And what I'm thinking is I'll take this green shade and apply it at the bottom eye and see how that looks. So I'm taking a sponge applicator. I found this lying around somewhere. So let's see how it applies. This green feels very gritty, so I feel like either a finger or a sponge applicator might work best. Looks really nice. And there is no fallout, thankfully. The Muerte palette fallout was crazy for some of the shades. And this is how it looks. And I'm thinking I'll apply the orange shade on the other eye just for contrast. Oh wow, this is really, really vibrant. Super bright. Very neonish metallic. Oh god. I cleaned it up. Now this is the first eye look. It's nice and green. I really like this neon green and the bottom green. On this side I have the yellow shade. I'm not particularly impressed with the yellow shade. It's just another ordinary yellow shade, not the kind of yellow I had expected it to be, like super bright and shows up really easily. I don't think that is the case. And this orange is super bright, so it's really nice. And even though I don't like the yellow shade, I really like the look that this is with. And yeah, these shades, the dark brown ones, these are pretty good. I really like the shades and they blend very easily, and it was really easy to create this eye look. Now let me clean this up and we'll try some more shades. So I want to try out the two metallics on my eye and build an eye look around it. So what I'm going to do is take the Sol shade, and this is the orange shade, and apply it as a transition shade right here. It's a nice orange tangerine shade. It's very fluorescent. So this one's going to be a little bit radical for my taste. I usually don't wear eye looks like this, but let's see how this goes. I will now take the Mexicana shade, the red shade, and apply it as a transition shade right here. And I'm not sure if I would wear this Mexicana shade all over my eye. Not sure, but who knows. That's why I'm just applying it as a transition for now. So I'll take a clean brush and just blend out the whole thing. And I'm going to follow the same pattern on the other eye. So what I'm going to do is I'll pick up the green shade and apply it like I applied the orange shade right here. It looks pretty nice. I really like this green shade. I think so far this has been my favorite shade. I'm kind of confused between whether I should take the red shade here as well or take the orange shade or maybe take the chocolate shade. Let's take the chocolate shade. Let's try something radical. Actually, you know what? Not chocolate. Let's take agua ardiente. Let's go a little mellow. So with my blending brush, again, I'm going to try a similar look on both eyes. So now I'm going to do a cut crease. So this, in the same way, I'll just take my concealer and just apply it on both my eyes because I want to see how the metallic works on its own. I'm not trying to make a super perfect cut crease, just a basic one on the other eye as well. Just to understand how I should apply these two metallic shades, this particular shade I feel like it will apply fine with the finger, so I'll try with the finger first. It's very soft and oh my god, this is just super bright. I'm just simply tapping it, not dragging it, and oh my god. It's really bright. And now I'll just take a brush because my fingers are not that thin. So with a small brush, I'll just pack this shade. It's really nice. It's like my eyes are on fire or something. But I feel like that light orange doesn't even show because this color is so bright that that light orange has basically disappeared. Let's take a different brush and try to pack that orange shade somewhere here so that at least it shows. There you go. And I'll just touch up the Mexicana shade as well a little bit. But my god, this orange is super bright. Oh wow. Just blend out the whole thing. Okay. Now I'm going to try the green shade, and as I was saying, it's very like gritty. So let's see how it applies with the finger. If not, I'll use a brush. Okay, I think it applies fine with the finger. Again, I'm just tapping it very gently. I don't want any fallout, and so far so good. The texture on this is really strange. It's a very nice green though, very neon metallic green. And in case you're curious to know how it compares with the Natasha Denona and the Pat McGrath, let me swatch that and show you. It's very different, I can tell you that for sure, but I'll still compare. Oh my god. These are, whoa, super neon for my liking. Oh, I don't wear these bright shades, but I guess I can make an exception. I'll just touch up the green so that green suddenly starts looking so dull, even though it's a pretty neon green. Okay, I will just you know, create some depth and make it nicer. So I'll just take the Agua Ardiente shade and just update the edges just to make it look a little bit nicer, I guess. And I'll do it on both the eyes. In fact, on this side I'll go with the chocolate shade because I already had Ardiente added. So I feel like the shades in this palette, they actually work really well. I don't see too much fallout. I do see a lot of kickback on the palette, that I have to admit. But in terms of fallout, this was not as crazy as the Muerte palette. So I'll do the same in the bottom eye, going with the chocolate shade and just applying it at the bottom lid. And just blending it out. And then going with that same brush and applying the green shade in the inner corner. Actually, what if I put orange here and green here? Kind of connected together. So let's do that. I'll take the orange Alegria shade and apply it right here. And take the green shade and apply on the other eye. Okay. I'll now apply some lashes and come back. This is the final look. I absolutely love the metallics in this palette. They are super neon and very vibrant and easy to apply and no fallout. So it's been great. Now I was thinking I'll compare the green shade and these two green shades from this palette with the greens in the Natasha Denona ones. So the Natasha Denona green, like this one, is a pretty dull green, as you might have already guessed. And the metallic green looks like this. So they're very, very different, obviously. But I still wanted to show you. So that's the Melt Cosmetics, and this is the Natasha Denona one. And just to add the Pat McGrath green shade, just for comparison, I'll just take this one, and in terms of how vibrant each one is. So this one, this green from Pat McGrath is duochrome. That's not the case with the Melt Cosmetics one. This one is just pure bright green. If you can see, this one's got a shift to it. So yeah, that's how the greens compare. All right, so having tried the Vida palette, I wanted to share my final thoughts on this. Now, this palette also retails for $58. It's as nicely packed as the Muerte palette. But I have to admit, this palette is definitely better than the Muerte palette. The shades are nice, there is no fallout, and the metallics are very nice. All the shades were very nice, so I don't have any complaints with the way the shades behaved. I think the only shade that I wasn't a big fan of, or the two shades, was the yellow one, and it's called Amor Eterno, because there was nothing special about this yellow. I was expecting it to be super neon, which it didn't, but I guess getting neon yellows is probably the impossible at this point. No, I don't think anybody has a nice neon yellow. Anyway, if you know some yellow that is actually neon, let me know. But I haven't seen any nice yellow so far. This one's as ordinary as the others. And the other one is the Atole shade. Now this one, it's not bad, it's a nice shade, it's almost my skin tone, so there's nothing special. So that's the only reason why I don't like these. Not a big fan of these two shades, but the others were great. The green and the orange, everything was just super vibrant as promised. And I absolutely love the idea of having these two shades. So even though you're going for these crazy neon looks, you have something to create depth. And these shades were really, easy to work with. So I absolutely loved the whole thing in this palette. Now, having said that, I am contemplating whether or not I should keep this palette. Now, anybody who has the Sunset palette, I feel like you already have most of the shades. I showed a comparison as well. So you already have the red, the orange, and this brown shade and the yellow shade. So if you already have the Sunset, you're probably paying $60 for some of the repeat shades, as well as some new shades like this orange one and these greens. So keep that in mind. And this is why I'm also, having second thoughts whether or not I should keep this palette, because it seems like most of it I already have. And this is not a cheap palette. It's $58. So each shade is around $6. So I am thinking, I haven't made up my mind yet. But overall, I really like this palette. I am a bit disappointed that it's better than the Muerte palette, because I know this is such a colorful scheme that I would probably not use this palette as much. But I actually really liked, playing with this and applying makeup with this palette as compared to the Muerte palette. So that's how it is. I have to say that I don't want to break up this face. I want to actually keep the two together. This was actually one of the reasons why I bought both the palettes, because I wanted the whole face. Call me crazy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, do like this video, and I hope you subscribe to my channel. And until the next time we meet, bye.